Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 763 for the 27th of March. Do bombard the like button and do subscribe if you're new to this channel, and we got to do the frontline changes report. The first, there's three of them today. So the first frontline change of the three is over at Ivanivske, so over at the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut city, and Ivanivske is over here. So there is some frontline change. The Russian Defense Ministry allegedly announced, not allegedly, they announced the capture of Ivanivske on the 23rd. And this raised a lot of doubt because it was pretty sudden and there was no mapping that can corroborate this. And this is now really in trouble because we have geolocation of Ukrainian forces in these two positions getting hit by Russian attacks, which means that the Ukrainian forces at least will be at this area here. So which means the Russians did not fully capture Ivanivske, and this is very embarrassing, I guess. The Russian forces did raise a flag over at this position, which is on the eastern part of Ivanivske, which we already know for a long time that they have captured this part of Ivanivske. So which means that the battle of Ivanivske is actually not over, and in fact there's a possibility that this area here, this one over here, the industrial area in the south of Ivanivske, might actually still be under Ukrainian control as well. It's a possibility. So yeah, the battle of Ivanivske continues. So very disappointing because they prematurely just declared that they have captured Ivanivske, but in the end it's not captured. But not usual. This normal thing. There's a possibility because it's something to do with the Russian presidential election over the last week. And which is why they want a lot of good news. Of course, then we have the Moscow terror attack, which become a very bad news. So whatever it is, no war is war. That's how this what happened. The first thing to die is truth. So anyway, over at the Avdiivka front, this is Avdiivka city. Over at Berdychi, there is geolocation of Russian forces attacking into the northern part of Berdychi across the field, and this confirmed Russian presence in this area here. This is not a, how to say, did I put it as capture? No, I put it as a presence. So we will continue to leave it as a only Russian mapping change. The Ukrainian mapping will not change because we do not know if the Russians actually successfully captured that position because it was an attack. This attack also actually comes on the south as well. It's like a two-pronged attack, and then there was another geolocation that shows the Russian forces in the south. So that's all, which means that Ukrainian forces actually have a position, something like this. They are holding this entire area, and of course this pig leg, this pig trotter over here is actually the previous attempt by the Russians is clearly under Ukrainian control. So that's all for this Berdychi region in the Avdiivka front. The last frontline change is over at Novomikhailivka. So this is Donetsk city, and Novomikhailivka is over here. At Novomikhailivka, frontline changes shows Russian forces. Okay, so this is geolocation of Russian forces basically in the Ukrainian controlled zone, showing that the Russians are making a push into the further of the center of the Novomikhailivka. So I mapped it a bit conservatively, showing that the Russians have taken like this, based on the two geolocation. So some mappers, I would imagine they would just put it like this, which is not exactly wrong, and they might also attribute this entire industrial zone as under Russian control. That is also possible. So you may see this kind of a difference in other people's reporting or other people's mapping. So don't be surprised if you see that. On DPA's mapping for this case, I decide to be a bit more conservative because I'm not sure. Who knows, the attack actually fails. But tentatively, I'm setting this as captured because they are getting bombarded by artillery. So which is why And Russian forces also geolocated over in the rear position. There is some mine clearing in the rear, which means that they are pretty confident in this area here. So they are doing mine clearing and trying to make their logistics simpler and easier in order to continue the attack in this area here. So that's all for Novomihailivka. So that's all for the frontline changes report. For those have no patience to go through the rest of the report, see you guys in the next update, and do press the like button, subscribe, and we go into the strategic and tactical reporting. The first thing we're gonna go counterclockwise direction over for the Kherson front, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Ivanivske, New York, Bakhmut, and Kreminna, Kupiansk, and then Belgorod. So, and this is a worm. Okay, anyway, go on to the Kherson front. So at the Kherson front, there is fighting reported at the Krinky. According to Ryba, Ryba reported there is Ukrainian forces on the defensive in Krinky, which means the Russians are attacking. There is a major video footage that went viral showing Russian soldiers inside a house at Lyubimivka. So there is this big building around here. It was totally destroyed by 2 JDAMs bombs. So JDAM bombs is, if I'm not remember wrongly, is guided aerial bomb. So the fighter jet dropped 2 bombs and then destroyed the entire building. The 2 bombs hit at the same time. So very impressive footage, but I think anyone inside is clearly dead. So this is one thing. But of course, the battle continues over at this front line. But it also shows that the Ukrainians still have the Air Force. So Ukrainian Air Force still survive. One hell of a ghost. So over at the Osokorivka, the Russian Defense Ministry, in their latest report, just before I start, suddenly popped this report saying that they have shelled Osokorivka. So they claim they have destroyed some manpower around here. So that's about it, which means the Ukrainian forces still continues to have some troops, guarding the Dnipro River, or they might be gathering forces in order to do an attack into the soft spot of the Russian lines. But we do not know. So it's continued to be a very tricky situation along this entire Dnipro River line, because very little fighting will be at this area here, but you cannot leave it undefended as well, because the opposing side may just take advantage and just enter in. So very tricky situation. And then if you are soldiers deployed over there, it must be very depressing, because it's like, there's nothing to do, it's so boring, and then suddenly you just die. So yeah, sad life. Over at the Zaporizhia front, this is the Zaporizhia line, or the Zaporizhia front. Fighting is reported over at the Orikhiv sector. So Ukrainian forces attack Nesteryanka from the northwest. This is yesterday's news. Okay, go back to blue. So did I remove all this, or is correct? Okay, now it's correct. So over at the Orikhiv sector, this Orikhiv salient around here, this Orikhiv settlement, the Ukrainian forces are counterattacking over at the Verbove. So lousy arrow. I think you cannot see it. I use this one. Yeah, so attacking in the northwest of Verbove as well as Robotine. Russian forces are clashing with them at Robotine. So fighting continues. There is no other updates. It's very vague right now. We do not know exactly fully what is happening. And then that's all. That's all for the Zaporizhia front. Very quiet now. We move into the Donetsk front. This is the Donetsk front and Velika Novosilka sector, Voleda sector, and the Marinka sector. So over at the Velika Novosilka sector, Russian forces attack Staromayoske, Ukrainian forces counter-attack. There is a airstrike on Staromayoske and an airstrike on Uruzhaine. So two destruction there. And then there is also some shelling. So some artillery shelling over whoops, sorry. Okay. Again. Artillery shelling over near Novodarivka, or somewhere near to Rivnopil around here. So this is the current situation over in the Velika Novosilka sector of the Donetsk front. And we move on. There's nothing over at the Voleda sector, over at the Marinka sector. Russian forces attack at Georgievka and fighting reported at Novomihailivka. There's no reports of fighting at Krasnohorivka except that this shelling by Russian forces at Krasnohorivka. As mentioned in the frontline changes report, Russian forces currently is clearing their mines around this northeastern part of Novomihailivka. They are looking probably to push out from the north, while the main push is currently through the center. Two geolocation shows these very weird shapes, but there's a possibility that this actually is a major push, which means that the capture might be the entire thing. This factory area here in the south, this one most likely is already taken by the Russian forces, but I cannot prove it just yet. So which is why I have not really changed this yet. So there is rumors that the Ukrainian forces has been ejected out from the central part of Novomihailivka, but I will say that this is not confirmed. This is just based on the fighting, the geolocation. It may or may not that get pushed out just yet. We'll have to wait and see if this is the case. There's a fishing pond around here, so maybe they can come fishing around here. It's pretty nice. Maybe this is the strategic objective of the Russians, because they are so low on food. They are so depressing. The sanctions are crushing. They need this fish pond like now, yesterday. They need the fish pond yesterday. Putin say no fish, they cannot win the war. So and that's all for the Donetsk front. Over at the Avdiivka front, Russian forces continue their attack over at Berdychi, Semenivka, and Vodian, Pervomaiske, as well as Nevelske. Ukrainian forces counterattack at Pervomaiske, Vodian. They are attacking Tonenke. They are also attacking Berdychi. So this is the current strategic situation in this area here. Multiple geolocations over in the Olivka, Berdychi region showing Russian presence. Over in the southern part of Olivka, showing Russian forces in the south. So at Berdychi itself, I mentioned in the frontline changes report, the Russians are trying to storm Berdychi. They are attacking in two prone attack based on geolocation alone. Another group from the south. So the Ukrainian forces probably have some positions probably around here. So this area here have been shot through, which is why the Russian forces managed to land, and they probably will fan out from this area here. So the Ukrainian forces definitely have another line along the tree lines, and this area here is also getting shelled through with the Russian forces trying to penetrate through and probably linked up. And if there's any Ukrainian forces in this such a forward position, they are probably going to be encircled or killed off. So the current situation is a bit tricky. I think it's very tense and dangerous for the Ukrainian forces at Berdychi, because this push seems to be a lot more intentional and a lot more well designed. Remember, I criticized the Russian forces for sending men on a suicide mission into kill zones with no anti-armor equipment and no fire support. One, I think, happens around here. Another one happened here. I think the commander might have been changed. I suspect, because this attack is different. It's not two APC or two BTRs just storming to the front like blindly. This one come with fire support. I think it's 3 vehicles. I believe at least there's 3 vehicles. At least in the south, I believe I saw 3 vehicles. And the top in the north one, I'm not sure. Cannot remember, 3 or 4. So there's fire support. They fire at the point where they're going to drop off troops, and yeah, it looks more like a standard Russian attack rather than the previous commander that sent men into a kill zone. So we shall see if the Russians continue to operate in a standard way, their proper way of fighting, with fire support, and sufficient surveillance, sufficient artillery support or whatnot. I think it will be successful, because it is actually very bad for health to hold a static position in the modern warfare. So yeah, it's an understatement, clearly, bad for health. Moving into New York front, at the New York front, Ukrainian forces continue to attack in this front line. Yesterday, they attacked over at New York. Today, they attacked, the day before yesterday, they attacked at New York. Yesterday, over the past 24 hours, attacked at Pivdeny as well as Shumi. So This continues. Ukrainian forces continue to probe along this entire line towards Holivka. We shall see how this progress. Holivka is over here. This is a major city. And then we move on to the Bakhmut front. In the southern flank, we have the usual Russian forces attacking Klishchiivka as well as Andriivka. So this is the usual. There's nothing new really over this area here. Over in the northern flank, we have a bit more stuff. So, okay, I cannot zoom in. So Russian forces attacking at Berdychi region. They are attacking towards Chasiv as well as fighting reported at Ivanivske. The one towards Chasiv is interesting because according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they straight out just said Chasov, which is Chasiv. So they do not say that it's near. They it's near. But yeah, they are basically already dropped the name Chasiv, signifying their presence in the area already. So they are showing that they are literally in the area. Ryba basically mentioned more or less the same thing, that the Russian forces is near to Novoye. That's about it. They say that they are approaching the Kanal micro district, which is the same place. So yeah, so they are just pushing in. Berdychi, I think within the village itself, there's no much change because geolocation of FPV drone attack showing Ukrainian forces basically still in this area, still defending within Berdychi. So they're still around here. I'm not sure if you guys can see when I zoom out so much. So, and over at the Ivanivske region, as mentioned in the frontline changes report, geolocation of Ukrainian forces at Ivanivske showing that this invalidated Russian claims that the whole of Ivanivske has been captured on the 23rd of March. And geolocation of the flag is clearly in the eastern part, which means that this is not a good indication of Russia's capture of Ivanivske. So fighting continues. We will continue to wait and see how the information develops. And further up in the north at Zalianske, there is fighting being reported here. Russian Defense Ministry mentioned that they attacked in the area of Zalianske. We haven't heard of Zalianske for a very, very long time. The last report was in 8th of December. So it's been almost 4 months that there is any fighting in Zalianske region. To me, as I mentioned before, this is where the Russians should put their focus on. So but somehow we are looking at the situation of Russian forces pushing towards Chasiv. But I feel that they should push in this direction, flank up north, and break up Sivers. But of course, the problem is that we are still not sure if the Russians are still in the stage of simply want to attrition the Ukrainian forces, or are they ready to capture more ground. So the problem lies in this strategic objective, because if the idea is simply to attrition the Ukrainian forces, then there is no reason to make all this strategic push and encourage the Ukrainians to further entrench this area here, because this is already rather heavily entrenched. So they may not want to trigger them. They go for their the biggest defended area here, and then force Ukrainian forces to continue to send reinforcement into this area so that they can be all killed off. So this is the situation with the Russian side. On the Ukrainian side, they are on the back foot. There's nothing much they can do. So which is why I'm not talking much about Ukrainian initiatives, because they have already lost it. When they wasted away the entire offensive brigades, they basically lost the war. Effectively lost the war. Maybe with the 12th offensive brigades, you use it in a strategic way, maybe there's still a chance to force a stalemate of some sort, or put certain threats, or capture Belgorod and make it a good bargaining chip. But the fact that they have really wasted, that's gone. Nothing at the Sivers front. And over at the Crimea front, Russian forces attacking Kerny as usual. Nothing else over this front line. We move on over at the Svetove front. Nothing over there. Over at the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, we have the usual Russian forces clashing with Ukrainian forces at Sinkivka, and that's it. I believe there's nothing over the Belgorod front. Oh, there is one. There is artillery attack against some Ukrainian position in some high-rise building over here at Veterinane. So some artillery bombardment across the border, and that's about it. So that's this is the summary for the day of 763 for the 27th of March. Press the like button, subscribe, and again, this, for those that are maybe pro-Ukrainian, you may think that the reports may seems a bit pro-Russian because the views may always seems to be from the Russian perspective. The reality is that the Ukrainians can't really do much more. They don't have the equipment right now to do an offensive. They may not have the trained soldiers to do it as well. They are currently just holding the lines. The best troop is being sent to Ivanivske to hold back the Russian breakthrough, which has been successful because they overwhelmed the front line in a very short front line with a lot of troops. But the Russian side have superiority in literally everything right now. And there is also another image of another Abrams tank got destroyed. I can't verify it. It is an Abrams tank. So situation is really bad. There is a rumor, I can't remember from which source, saying that the Ukrainians can only fight for another 2 months, and they will be out. That means they have no more equipment. I can't be sure how true is such a statement because every other statements that comes before in the past 2 years, even by myself, have thought that the Ukrainian forces may have already collapsed by a certain point, but they did not. So the resilience of the Ukrainian forces is actually pretty high, and they definitely still have certain amount of manpower to throw at defending. But of course, it's very wasteful and they will die very fast because there is no training or the equipment to do the defense work, and they will just be cannon folders to sit in the trench and die. So the situation for the Ukrainians is quite bad. All these bad news coming from Western media, particularly Western media, is very interesting because they have been hyping up the Ukrainian forces and dumbing or trashing the Russian forces for most of the 2 years, and suddenly now they are saying that the Russians are going to overrun Ukrainian positions, and all the coping, maybe it's not even coping, is the dooming. They're all dooming over the potential destruction of the Ukrainian armed forces. Thus, all this talk about NATO troops in Ukraine. Yeah, that's the reality right now. So it's important to stick to the reality. Don't buy in too much cope, or don't go to those YouTube channels that constantly brainwash you into things are much better than it is. It's not. It's a war. Even in the like Israeli versus Hamas situation, things are not really swimming for the Israeli as well. They have taken so much losses that is unimaginable against a force that is so much more weaker than them, like the Hamas. So reality of war is usually quite sad. Particularly for Ukraine, is super sad. So yeah, so that's just some thoughts I want to share. So thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. I'm going to meet history legend for some food, and see you guys in the next update.